In this video, we're going to talk about how to solve inequalities. We already talked about how to graph them on a number line, so we can add that component at the end. But it's similar to how we solved for an equation. So if you need to go back and take a look at that video, that is posted earlier in this playlist. But solving inequalities is very similar. We have to do order of operations in reverse, or the opposite direction. I use the acronym PEMDAS, so we do that reversed, add and subtract first, multiply, divide, then exponents, then parentheses. But parentheses, if it's set up so you can distribute that first. That's not really part of this last step to do. If we have a fraction, we want to try to get the fraction by itself, get rid of all the other terms that are on the same side of the inequality, and then we deal with a fraction. Combine like terms if necessary. And the other big difference in inequalities is that if we multiply or divide by a negative, that inequality sign has to flip. So less than or greater than, it gets flipped around. So let's look at a few examples here. So let's say we have to solve for 2x minus 3 is greater than 5. Okay, so you can look at this the exact same way as if it said 2x minus 3 is equal to 5. We just have that inequality there instead of equal sign. All right, so I'm still trying to isolate the x, get that by itself. I'm going to add and subtract first. Well, I have a minus 3 right there that I want to move over to the other side. All right, so by adding 3 on the left side there, that gives me a 0. So now I just have the 2x there, still greater than 8. Last step that we will usually see is dividing. X is greater than 4. Okay, if that was an equation, then our answer would be x equals 4. Okay, so all the same steps as if it were an equation. All right, so that's a one-step inequality. Let's look at a multi-step solving problem. So let's say we have negative 2 is less than or equal to negative 4y plus 3 over 6. Again, I'm kind of ignoring that inequality there unless I'm dealing with a negative number that I have to multiply or divide on both sides. Okay, so for right now, I'm just taking a look at how do I get the y by itself. Well, we've got this big fraction on the right. There aren't any other terms outside of that fraction, so I can go ahead and get rid of the fraction. Remember, we talked about in solving equations, the reason that's a fraction is because we are dividing, so we want to do the opposite and multiply. That will get rid of that denominator there, and we will no longer have a fraction. So now we have negative 12 is less than or equal to negative 4y plus 3. Now this looks similar to our last problem where we've got a coefficient for our variable that we will divide for our last step. But first I have to get rid of this plus 3, which means I am subtracting 3. I forgot to put my line here. Now I have a negative 15 on the left side, a negative 4y on the right side, and it's still less than or equal to inequality. My last step is to divide by negative 4. Okay, so this is what I have to remember, that when we multiply or divide both sides by a negative with an inequality, now all of a sudden my sign flips, and now it becomes greater than or equal to y. 4 doesn't go into 15 evenly, so it's going to just stay as a complex fraction there. And we've got a negative divided by negative, that makes it positive. And there is our solution. Okay.